Hey, what's up everyone? So today we're going to do unboxing and review of the Orbic Joy 4G LTE smartphone. Now, if you have not heard of Orbic, you're not alone. This is a relatively new brand in the US, I think. It's been there for several years at least 4 years as I can see from some YouTube history. But what it is a brand of an Indian company called Reliance Communications. So it's my first phone from an Indian brand. Um, so I'm glad to see that other players are starting to come into the market now, especially in the budget area. According to the box, though, this is still made in China. So I know that a bunch of companies have been moving production to India, but apparently an Indian company is still using China for production. So that's the situation right now. So and Orbic seems to be one of the only ones that are still using like actual names instead of model numbers for their models. So that's kind of interesting to note as well. So let's actually go into the specs and let me pull that up. So as I said, mentioned, this is a 4G LTE phone, so it does not have 5G. The screen is 6.1 inches diagonally with a 1560 by 720p resolution. That turns out to be a 20 by 9 aspect ratio. There's some websites that says this is TFT, so there's no mention of IPS, and I'm definitely betting that this is not going to be an OLED display. So if it's not TFT, so if it's not IPS and it's not OLED, it could be a simple TN panel, but we'll see. I would be kind of disappointed if it was, though. This does have a 34 milliamp hour battery, which is not removable. Has USB-C charging, Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 gigahertz connection, Bluetooth, 8.8 megapixel rear camera, single camera in the back, so no dual cameras, no macro, no ultra wide, none of that. So it's a simple 8 megapixel camera, which is quite low for a modern phone these days, but you know, like most people are not going to buy this phone for the cameras. The front facing camera is 5 megapixels, and here is the standout spec of this phone. It has a Qualcomm 680 Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 chipset. That is when it came out, the 680 was a mid-range chipset, and this is a budget phone. So you'll see that the 680 right now performs as well as some of the entry-level 5G phones, even though it doesn't have 5G. So, but the overall processing is close to some of the entry-level 5G chipsets that are on the market today. So this is for a sub $100 phone. The 680 is a really nice a chipset, like a pretty premium chipset to be used on these kinds of phones. For RAM, it's 3 gigabytes and 32 gigabytes of internal storage with micro SD expansion, and it has Android 12 pre-installed. So we're just gonna go and open this up right now and take a look at the contents. Okay. So here is the phone. So as you can see, this is an all plastic build. The back has a sort of a matte finish. It doesn't pick up fingerprints very well, which is a good thing. So no fingerprint marks that I'm leaving right now by simply just touching this phone. It does seem to grip fairly well. So like, I don't know if I will be buying a case for this. I've actually looked for cases before purchasing this phone. The cheapest that I can find is actually $6 and shipped from China. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna spend that money to protect a phone that I can grip pretty well. See if I can like lay it on these fingers and it still will not slip, right? So it's pretty slip resistant. That's a definite plus for this device. But check out these bezels. These are some super chunky bezels, and which makes this phone even like almost as tall as some of the 6.5-inch devices that I have lying around. So yeah, I haven't seen bezels this big before on like a phone that is built within the last 2 years. So you know, it is what it is. This is a budget device, so this probably gets like a cost-saving feature. Let's see what else is in the box. We have inside here, what is this? Just some manuals, SIM ejector tool, a charger, which is nice, and a USB cable, A to C. I'm guessing this is like a 10-watt charger. Does it say? Yeah, it's a 10-watt charger. So fairly standard. You know, budget phones, they often do come with chargers. So that's a good thing with these budget devices. Okay, so let's go and peel this thing off and peel off the camera sticker and power this on. Okay, we'll set this up and I'll be back. Just want to show you guys how large these bezels are. So both of these phones here, the left one is the Orbic Joy, the right one is the TCL 30LE that I also reviewed on my channel not too long ago. So these are both 6.1-inch phones, but you see there's a big difference between the size of these two phones because I lined up the screen, the bottom of the screen and the top of the screen like along each other. You can see both the top and the bottom have like much bigger bezels than the 30LE, and the 30LE already has pretty big bezels. Okay, so in the back here, there is a cost-saving feature that Orbic implemented. So the IMEI number is not etched onto the plastic, as with most phones without removable batteries. So they just have a sticker here, which you can actually peel off, so this QR code is actually showing the IMEI number of this device. The front-facing camera is more of a semicircle than the typical teardrop or teardrop style notch that we see above. So it's a little bit interesting design. Regarding the screen, I was right to be concerned. It's not so much the sharpness that's the problem, but it's the color accuracy. The screen just turns out to be a little bit more bluish than what is accurate. So like you might not be able to see it so much here, but this screen is supposed to be completely white, and when I see it in person, it is more bluish than what it should be. So yeah, the colors are not that good. Okay, now taking a look at the pre-installed apps, this is as close to stock Android as you can get. I do not see any carrier bloatware here. I installed my Google account on here, and what a lot of carriers do, they often just, as soon as you install sometimes even before you install the Google account, and then you connect to Wi-Fi, starts downloading all this bloatware. Didn't happen here, so that is a nice plus. And if you go look at the storage, you'll see that it's not taken up by bloatware. Even though you only have 32 gigs, only 10 gigs are being used, so you have 22 gigs of free storage. So that's pretty nice. All right, a couple of other first impression things about this phone. So you can see the phone model is RC608L2. So the RC stands for Reliance Communications. So they're not even using like just the Orbic name here for the model number. It's just like Reliance. So that's something to something interesting. So another one, the the performance is pretty snappy. This is thanks to the 680 chip in here that I talked about earlier. So I was going through opening Chrome, opening websites, things like that. So it wasn't lagging like some of the MediaTek Helio processors that I've played with in the past. So this is a pretty nice advantage. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the software experience. As I said, this is stock Android, but it seems like, Orbic just didn't do any sort of optimizations with this. Um, One way you can kind of see is that the text fonts are not that clean. What do I mean by that is, like on this screen here, the text is kind of small. It is pretty small for this size screen, but then when you go into settings, like these become much bigger. This text becomes much bigger, right? So there's some like screens where the text is too big, some screens where the text is too small, and it's kind of like an inconsistent feeling. It's not a, it's This is being really nitpicky here, but it's just doesn't seem very polished. Nobody's buying this for the camera, but it's there, I suppose. This is probably one of the worst cameras I've seen, but people are not buying this for the cameras. You can't really expect that much. But one of the things that I noticed with the photo mode, you see there's no way to kind of back out of it when you're taking photos unless you kind of do this, right? You have to kind of put your hand here, put your finger here, and then kind of swipe up to get the back out menu. But when you're in the when you're in the photo app, there's really, it doesn't seem like there's no intuitive way for you to actually get out of it. So this is just kind of unpolished experience. All right, so right now I'm gonna take this outside, take some outdoors photos and combine with some indoors photos and videos, so you can see kind of what the camera performance is like. But really don't expect much. I'm not expecting very much from this, but it's important for people to know. Okay, and after that, I'll give some final first impressions for this phone. Okay guys, so you should be able to see from the both indoor and outdoor camera samples the quality of this camera, or the lack thereof of the quality in this camera. So even in direct sunlight, a lot of the photos are missing details. For example, the leaves are getting blurred, the flowers are losing details on their petals, and so we don't even need to talk about the indoor photos. So those are just kind of garbage as well. So, you come into these budget phones with the expectation that the camera is not going to be good, but this is even worse than I anticipated. The photos, I guess, are still usable to some extent, but they're not something that I would enjoy sharing with people that I know. You pretty much have to go back to maybe 2015 or 2016 to find cameras of this quality. So yeah, they didn't do that much with the cameras. So quickly, if I can summarize the pros and cons of this phone, some of the pros are it comes with a pretty fast chip, the Snapdragon 680. This is a lower mid-range level chip in 2013. And it was a mid-range chip when it first came out. So that is really nice. The other nice thing about this, it's the plastic is not very slippery, so I like that. It gives you a good grip. I also like the stock Android experience. There's no hardware feature that seems to be really missing on a device of this price level. So maybe you can say like it's missing a fingerprint reader. Well, maybe add $20 and you'll find like a fingerprint reader. So the things that I don't like so much about this phone, maybe starting from top to bottom, I would say the screen is probably the weakest part of this phone. The colors is too bluish. So the color reproduction on the screen itself is just not that good. The camera, while it is potato, it's not, people don't buy it for the camera so much. That it is what it is. So it is a con, but it's not as big of a con as if you were buying a more expensive phone and coming up with like really bad cameras. Okay. The third thing is that the software experience is not that polished. That is a very minor thing for some people, but I notice it when I use it. So this is my overall review of the Orbic Joy. Would I recommend this for, let's say, $100? I guess so, if you really care about the speed of your device. If you want like a lag-free experience, you're okay with 4G. This SoC will do you pretty well. The Snapdragon 680. Beyond that, if you're doing if you anticipate taking a lot of photos or something like that, yeah, definitely get a different phone. And yeah, so I don't know what you guys think. So this is my impression of the Orbic Joy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and see you next time.